If you like what you hear in this podcast and want to help us keep the lights on, then you could support us on Ko-fi for as little as a £1 one-off donation. The links are in the episode description. Thanks for your support. This is Skip, the podcast where we tell you, in our opinion, which albums are truly unskippable and which ones belong in the skip. I'm Mike.
I'm Rob.
And this week we are taking a listen to The Last Dinner Party's Prelude to Ecstasy. This actually is the newest album we have ever reviewed. Woo! It's released in 2024. You literally could not get any newer unless it was released this year. So that's pretty neato.
So it could get newer is what you're saying.
I'd say it would be very hard to get newer considering the list that we've got doesn't feature any albums from 2025. So this is de facto the newest album we reviewed. Technically also the newest when this comes out because it's the newest episode. You get what I'm saying. Who suggested this one?
So this was actually suggested by one of my uni friends, Charles.
Ah, thanks, Charles.
Yep, he absolutely loves this album, and he has asked me non-stop since we started recording this whether we've covered his album yet. Yes, we have. Leave me alone.
We've done it now. It's done. We promise. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we said in a couple of episodes ago, I think we've still got 60-odd albums to go through on the list, at least, I'd have thought.
So we've had 64 albums submitted so far, and this episode is episode 17.
Oh, wow.
So we have actually got another 44 in the list to cover.
We're getting through this, and you can go and give your suggestions for unskippable albums to us, either through our link tree, which is the link on all of our socials, or via Gmail, which is skippedpod@gmail.com. That's skipdpod@gmail.com. Please send in your suggestions, but right now we're going to talk about Charles's album. Well, technically not his album, it's The Last Dinner Party. You get what I'm saying.
So, this is actually their debut album.
It is.
It was released on the 2nd of February 2024 and is a theatrical album which blends a fair few different genres, which launched the London-based quintet into instant stardom, topping the UK charts and actually winning critical acclaim for its bold sound and its baroque pop flair.
Baroque is the word you're looking for, not Barack Obama.
I like this album.
Michelle, come in here. They're playing The Last Dinner Party again.
Okay, let me redo that last little bit.
No, I want to keep this bit up.
I really like this album. 4 more albums. 4 more albums.
Start again.
So, Prelude to Ecstasy is The Last Dinner Party's debut album and released on the 2nd of February 2024. It's a theatrical album with genre-blending statements that actually launched the London-based quintet into instant stardom, topping UK charts and winning critical acclaim for its bold sound. It was actually produced with a rather popular producer called James Ford, who was known for his work with the Arctic Monkeys and Florence and the Machine, and they formed in 2021, so it's actually a very recent band. It's a lot more recent than the majority of stuff that we've covered so far.
Yeah, totally.
They gained instant attention for their flamboyant live shows and vintage aesthetic, and is a musical journey through extremes of emotion.
That's one way to describe it. They previously went under the name The Dinner Party between the years of 2018 and 21, so they've only been The Last Dinner Party since 2021,
Okay.
which was the gear up to the release of this album, supposedly. I don't know whether it was like an equity star situation where there was already a band or an act called The Dinner Party, something like that, but it feels like that kind of a situation. Otherwise, why just add a random word to...
Unless it was to be a Christian theme at some point.
I mean, you could argue that because there's definitely a lot of religious themology in this album, up and down. That does come from one of the members. I think it's Lizzie Mayland. It's from their upbringing in... I think they were Catholic, as far as I'm aware. I could be misremembering this. I remember reading somewhere, I was reading up on the members because it's just so unusual to have an act that basically came out the other side of COVID and immediately went to number one. It is a very unusual situation we find ourselves in. And this does feel, I don't know, emblematic of just a stratospheric rise to fame from being a bedroom band and a pub band and just people you've met at university to UK #1 album. That kind of step up, and we'll explore this, that kind of step up is unusual to say the least.
This album actually had 6 singles.
Which is insane. Again, it feels like the first 6 songs they would have written, right? And all released as singles under Island Records. Something doesn't track here, man.
Island Records picking up on this, like, as the first major record label is something phenomenal.
I mean, it was a good bet. That album sold pretty goddamn well, and you know they've been on the receiving end of loads of awards. I think it was they have had a BBC Rising Star Award or something like that. Like, they're nothing to sniff at. These are a known entity from one record. Unbelievable.
And similar to TerraVision, that we covered in an earlier pod, they actually staggered the release of their singles over a year. So they started in April 2023 with Nothing Matters, going through to Sinner in July, My Lady of Mercy in September, On Your Side in November, Caesar on the TV screen in January 24, and finishing with The Feminine Urge in February 2024. And that one dropped just before the album launch.
Yeah, this is it. It was very much a considered cycle of releases all through 23 up to the release of the album. And again, the thing to really hone in on here is Nothing Matters is their debut single. There's no EPs before this. There is no kind of like extended single that went to radio play. This is from our debut album. This is the first song that we have made as a band, and it gets released, and I think does pretty well. I think I've
got some stats for you if you want.
Oh, let's have those.
So they debuted at #1 on the UK album charts.
Yep,
9th of February 2024. Debuted at #1. Biggest opening week for a debut band album in nearly a decade.
God damn.
With 32,800 units sold. The fastest selling vinyl debut of the century. And with over 14,000 vinyl copies in the first week.
That's seriously impressive numbers.
And they were shortlisted for the Mercury Prize in 2024.
And we've had Mercury Prize alumni, on the show before. We took a look at the streets a couple of weeks ago, and we're in that kind of very specifically UK-based act here as well as where we were in the streets to begin with. I just had to double check. Nothing Matters. Again, the first song ever released by this album. It's top 20 in the UK singles chart immediately.
Absolute insanity. There aren't many artists that can go from nothing to that level of fame.
This is
in
it.
Such a short space of time, especially not a band solely comprised of women.
Yeah, that's a key element.
You don't see that. There are more and more bands coming up from modern era where every member is a woman. But it isn't something that was prevalent in our youth, and it is something that I absolutely love to see. A band that isn't like Bewitched or a random ass girl group where they've just got 4 women with great voices to sing together and look pretty. It's a band that have got incredible talents that work well together and produce some stellar music.
Yeah, certainly in the genre, you do get a lot of female fronted acts. Paramore it's not a direct comparison, but for the kind of the zeitgeist that we grew up in, as we were talking about last week, that kind of emo subculture of the mid to late 2000s.
Or even if you look at mid 2010s with Florence and the Machine, that this band is very reminiscent of.
Yeah, sure. They could have a front woman, but there'd still be, a more of a should we say male dominated mix in the background.
There's a lot of incredible musicians out there, but typically you tend to see that with the majority of bands, like you look at Izzy Hale and Hailstorm, and you look at just Christina Scabia, Ian LeCoute Coyle. There's just incredible women artists everywhere, but you don't tend to see too many bands with an incredible lineup of talented women on every instrument.
Yeah, no, that truly is a joy to see, and it does obviously inform the music as well, and it has reformed the writing process, which is important to draw attention to, and you couldn't really talk about the album without talking about that.
Oh no, you couldn't at all.
So that is all important, but obviously we're kind of mostly here to talk about the quality, which is a good thing, because I don't feel entirely set up or prepared to be the voice of criticism against the the pro-feminine kind of messages here. I'm not that kind of person. I consider myself pretty progressive, but I'm not going to sit here and try and mansplain all that stuff to you. I'm not that guy.
So let's go through a few themes around the tracks, just to start. So the genre, it's a how do you say it again? Sorry, I tried
Baroque.
A Baroque style.
You can
pop.
say baroque as well.
I said Baroque earlier. And
Baroque.
we ended up in a 10 minutes Barack Obama impression fest. Didn't go well. So it's Baroque pop mixed with glam rock, chamber pop, and indie rock, with themes of gender, envy, objectification, desire, growing up, and emotional extremes. With standouts such as Nothing Matters, which was the breakout single, which was a soaring anthem of romantic abandon. Sinner, a gothic confessional track with religious overtones, which could very well feed into why the rebrand to The Last Dinner Party.
It's a theory.
It's
definitely a theory.
From me. My Lady of Mercy, which is a queer love song with operatic flair. On Your Side, which is a lush, introspective ballad. And Caesar on a TV screen, which is a theatrical critique of fame and power.
You'll have seen the word Baroque used before. It was a word that was used to describe Panic at the Disco.
It certainly was, and you said it, which is why I didn't know how to say it.
There we go.
I do not word well, even though I have a journalism degree.
Yeah, you only work in stuff that relies entirely on what words people use on the internet.
Yes, I can write well, I can't read well.
Oh, God. Right, so I think it's very interesting off the bat to say that this album has a lot of ground to cover in a short amount of time. All of that could have been the basis for each of their own records, basically. I think you could have written a very interesting album that was solely about the relationship between the chastisation of existing in a religious household and that coming of age aspect. Because obviously these are relatively young people. I say that as a 33-year-old describing somebody who's 26 as like relatively young and youthful. It's like, I just feel so goddamn old.
Just because your back hurts doesn't mean everybody's does.
No, it'll happen to you. But no, like, there's a lot to play with here. And it does feel like we have picked up a lot of toys and are playing with all of them at once. 2, I would argue, and here are my initial thoughts of the album, positive to mixed results. What do you think?
I really enjoyed the album.
Cool.
First listen. I just put it on with absolutely no background on the band at all, other than knowing one of their songs from a FIFA game.
How does this always happen? What FIFA game's it?
It was FC24, I think.
So they've dropped the FIFA branding by that point.
Yeah, so it's the year that they dropped the FIFA branding, when they lost the license.
What song would they be peddling on the fucking the microtransactions game that is FC24?
It was Nothing Matters.
That made it onto a football game.
And
To be
they
fair, I'd be
changed the
surprised at any
lyric
of them.
to I Would Love You.
Ew. That gives me the ick. I don't like that. I don't like that. Oh, no. No, it needs to be visceral. That's the point, right? I mean, I guess you need a radio edit because, money. But no, it kind of feels like you rob it of a visceral nature there.
So I sat down with a really open mind with this. Had absolutely no clue about who they were, their background. Brand new album that I hadn't heard before. And I have to admit, first listen, great first reaction. Really enjoyed the vocal style. Enjoyed the constants of the music. So it doesn't feel like there's a switch up of tones at any point during the album. It doesn't feel like they go, okay, so this one's going to be this style, this one's going to be this style, this one's going to be this style. They have a constant sound, which for a debut is damn impressive.
Yeah, it certainly feels accomplished.
There's so many bands that struggle to find their sound in their first album, and it feels like these have very much found their sound instantly. I can see why Island was so keen to sign them and get them on board, because they've done a phenomenal thing that not many artists have achieved in a lifetime of finding a sound.
Yeah, true. Their identity is very clear. Now, you can argue this to hell and back with every artist about what their influences are, but I do feel like the overall kind of sound of this band, the influences are worn very, very much on their sleeve. You can very much, in my opinion, boil this down to, we would like to be an indie rock band version of Kate Bush, David Bowie, and Queen. And that's what we want to do. We want to put those three things in a blender and smear that over our instruments. And you know what? If you're going to emulate any artists, emulate some damn good ones. That makes a lot of sense. I just think it became a little bit too derivative at points. Certainly when it comes to the vocals, I think are unique within the space, but certainly very reminiscent and very evocative of Kate Bush. And that is not a bad thing. It is just something that is very noticeable. There is a choice, I think, to sing in this very specific, over-enunciated style. And I get what they're trying to do stylistically. I get that it's meant to have this old, kind of dusty, oldie-worldy feel to it. Because in many of the tracks, they are talking about the generational effects of trauma and misogyny and all this, and it fits the stories they want to tell very well. So props to that. I just think it's just a bit too close to things we've had before. They've very much got a sound, and in the landscape of 2025, we need stuff like this because it is different to the vast amount of stuff that's being peddled out. But I do think that people who've even remotely heard that stuff, and it's not like Kate Bush is that long in the memory. It's not that older music, and it's still being used in popular culture now. Running Up That Hill went to number one.
Thanks to Stranger Things.
Thanks to Stranger Things. God knows how many years after that was released. This is stuff people will know. And that's why it doesn't feel like reinvention. It feels like rehash. And I really wish I didn't have to use that word because I do look on it more positively than negatively. But like, I have to temper my thoughts based around that feeling.
See, I don't have that same history with artists such as Kate Bush. My music growing up was very based on like more garage-centric artists. I didn't really have that. Let's go and listen to Foreigner, let's listen to Queen, let's listen to Kate Bush, those type artists. Mine was very of the era, so I have a different view of it. To me, this is what I wanted when I listened to the Florence and the Machine album for that first time.
Interesting, okay.
I said to you, I wanted less Florence, more Machine. And this is very much what I was hoping for. Strong vocals matched by strong backing tracks. Sometimes in the Florence and the Machine album, which was one of our very early episodes, I will add, I felt like the backing tracks sometimes went a bit missing. There was not enough Machine, too much Florence. With this, it balances really well, and I love the majority of songs on this album. Of course, there are going to be some weaker ones. There are going to be some that we don't vibe with as well. But as a whole, I think the album's very strong.
It's an excellent time to start talking about those songs that we think are the best. You seem to like a lot more, so we'll hand that off to you.
Well, I like the Feminine Urge. I think it's really strong rally cry, and I like the fact that it explores expectations of womanhood. I can't really talk about it as much from a male perspective because I haven't seen the extra shit that women have to do to just get on by. But it's nice to see another perspective, with the rage, just put in there, and then incredible instrumentation to coincide with it.
I mean, yeah, that there's kind of multiple tracks on the album that kind of touch on that, but most explicitly on the Feminine Urge, and that kind of echoing of a generational expectation of what women are and what their experiences will or won't be. It's certainly very interesting. I do think that Feminine Urge is the one where you most hear that Kate Bush inflection, considering that the one directly before it on the album, which is Sees Her on a TV Screen, is very much where she's very... I forget the name of the vocalist, I do apologise. Is it Abigail Morris?
I think so.
Yeah, you get her performance more as a Freddie Mercury type on that, and you get those very sharp vocal inflections, like when the breath in has the like that, and you get in a climb down from a vocal. It's like a messier version of a Mercury, which fits with the more alternative rock feel. But by the time you get into the feminine urge, it's full operatic Kate Bush vocals. And it's very refreshing to hear somebody with that kind of consideration with how she's going to deliver these vocals. I just feel like it goes very over enunciated on every track. And that might not be to everybody's taste. I think I can see a merit to it, but I don't enjoy it all the time. I will say, though, where I most enjoyed that kind of thing, and hopefully this is on your best list as well, was Sinner. I thought that was a really great track.
That was going to be my next pick.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Because
we can both talk about
it's got... For me, I don't usually like repetition. But for this one, it's something that you hear, and the change in instrumental helps to keep fresh.
Yeah.
And it feels like... It's going to sound really weird. It feels like the introduction to a 90s TV show. Kind of like
weird.
It'd be at home on Gladiators or like a random sports
Really?
show. You know how like the Formula One took the chain?
You're on about that riff specifically. That doom, 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 doom.
Yeah.
That, yeah. Okay.
It feels like it'd be at home on a 90s TV show. Or even like
I mean,
as a backing track to a soap or something like that. Like, there's just something about it. It just works really well. It's just such an upbeat rhythm, and it just...
I think I know what you mean. I think I know what you mean in the sense of, like, how... This is a weird...
I know it's a really weird
Yeah.
point I brought up,
But in the way that, like... Do you remember... There's, like, certain songs the BBC use all the goddamn time. And it's just that one bit, and it's just a specific rhythm section. Like,
kind of like the Arctic Monkeys, Do You Want to Know?
do I want to know?
Do you?
I don't know, do you? But yes, that one. And stuff like Chemical Brothers Galvanize, like they take that doom doom did and use it over goddamn everything. And I see that in Sinner, the doom diddle that almost kind of like, I think musically it's more 60s kind of Shangri-La kind of psychedelia almost leaning. But I get where you're coming from. That overuse of those simple but catchy rhythms and melodies. Yeah, big staple of 90s TV. And every TV ident from that decade onwards would have that kind of little recognisable tune as they played whatever content we're playing over it. So I get it. I wouldn't say to 90, like Gladiators, come on now. That's all fucking glam and power and hair metal.
Yeah, that was just the first show that come to mind, admittedly. Maybe like Noel Lemon's House Party or something like that.
Because that's better. Okay.
Hey, I'm not saying it was a better show. I'm just saying potential.
Yeah. Would be improved with a featurette from The Last Dinner Party, apparently.
Yep, 20 years before their conception.
Noel's last dinner party.
Make it happen.
Noel's last house party technically already happened.
Mr. Blobby just explodes. Literally. Blobby,
God.
blobby. Blobby boom.
Here comes the feminine blob. I knew him so well. and then like the band keep playing, but you could just hear things being broken in the background.
And then it just finishes with her ripping Mr. Blobby open.
Well,
It was a feminine urge.
Oh, this went places.
It really did.
I get it though. I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's playful and provocative at the same time.
It is. It's, I think, my biggest criticism, and it is my favourite one on the album, is Sinner. My biggest criticism is I think lyrically it's the one that feels the emptiest, but that almost plays to a strength.
Yeah.
Because it's letting, like you said, the band do the talking. It's found a way to discuss that religious trauma and conflict. I imagine would resonate a lot more now that you do get, this is such a weird thing to say, and this might be a sweeping generalization, but my view of the of the world of women is entirely through my wife, and the amount of content she watches about religious cults is unreal. Mostly Mormons, and I do feel like there is this kind of fascination and contextualization of what religious organizations or indeed cults can have and what control they hold over women specifically. And there is, so many structures set up, certainly when it comes to religion, to suppress women and suppress all of those. I'm going to call them biological urges because they are just how we are hardwired as people. So it's interesting to have that kind of put together in what is basically the Beatles' experimental years. It's just cool. I just like it. I think it's a very interesting composition, and I think they should be very proud of that. I think that's really good.
It's one of the stronger debuts that I've heard.
Mm.
I mean, is it on the same level as A Fever You Can't Sweat Out by Panic at the Disco back from episode 1?
Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. You'll have to carry on and wait to see if we decide on if it's as strong as the debut.
But you had a much longer list of tracks you did like. So any more you want to point out?
I'm just trying to remember the actual name of it. I think it was Beautiful Boy that I enjoyed.
Okay, cool.
Which is a little bit of a different track to the other ones I've mentioned. But yeah, one of those that I just really sat and enjoyed, and it kind of hits quite hard, like the whole lyric of what good are red lips when you're faced with something sharp. It's like looking into the actual lyrics of the song. It's like, damn, I'm held captive by a ribbon round my neck. It's like it's exploring capture.
Yeah, it's an artistic portrayal of, I guess, violence in all its forms when it comes to powerful people, powerful men specifically.
But it's also idealized masculinity and heartbreak. So it's how people expect men to be rather than how men can be. It contrasts really, like, its delicate arrangement with a really emotionally heavy song.
Yeah, you're quite right. It's got something to say about toxicity when it comes to blokes.
It has, yeah.
100%.
And there's too many men in this day and age that try and be as toxic as possible. It's like, thankfully, the whole red pill, blue pill sort of debate, that type of TikTok shit storm that happened has passed. Men can be whatever they want to be again. They can be emotional if they want. They're not going to be scared that Tata Tot is going to like pop through the door and punch their head in because they've cried a little bit. Which seemed to be the mentality a couple of months back. Like, we had these strong, powerful male figures telling you that it's wrong to cry.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be wrong to cry. You should celebrate emotion. We all have emotion. Rage is an emotion. So by telling people that you shouldn't have emotion and then being angry, you're then breaking your own rules.
Yeah, I mean, hell of a statement. I think that's kind of encapsulated in this track specifically when we talk about beauty as almost a reflection of perfection and status. So I think that the whole idea of wanting to be the beautiful boy isn't necessarily, just a good-looking person. I think it's what is idealized as the beauty. It is, what makes a societally beautiful person. Is it the way that they've, shown themselves out to the world physically? Is it the status or the post that they inhabit? Is it the systems they're responsible for? Is it the legacy they brought? And there is all of that tied up quite wonderfully in just a very straightforward song. I wish I was in that position. I became infatuated with what that represented. It's laid out very well.
And it's a really short song compared to the rest of the album.
And I'm surprised you liked it, because it's repetitive as shit.
It is repetitive as shit, but it's the message that it conveys. It's saying that the highest you can ever be is one thing. Why can't you be higher?
I get it. Yeah.
It's kind of a metaphor for life, saying, why settle?
Yeah. Makes sense.
And that's why I enjoyed it. I know it's as with a couple of the other albums that we've covered lately, this isn't really the sort of thing that I tend to say I really enjoyed. But I really did. I think it was a great track and one of the stronger ones on the album. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think the strongest tracks are.
I've already said Sinner, which is my favourite. I do think that Beautiful Boy, again, I find those lyrics really quite interesting, but I find myself disliking the actual music.
Okay.
Which is a bit of a problem. I've multiple tracks on this album. I find myself almost willing myself into enjoying it, and I'm not always getting there. I also just found Beautiful Boy a little bit repetitive, but I've already said that. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. I think Guja was just somebody going, I really like the music from The Witcher. And I also like the music from The Witcher. So I enjoyed that for what it was. And Nothing Matters is absolutely the runner-up for me. I think it is just a very good alt indie hit. I think it needs that visceral nature, so I think the radio edit does kind of undercut it a little bit. I think there's something quite subversive about the dispensability of intimacy and romance in the lyrics of that song that is just refreshing. The idea of, the lyric is, I will fuck you like nothing matters. The relationship doesn't matter. Like, this is the only thing that matters because nothing else does. I think there's a great kind of mirror image going on in that track. It's just also a good alternative indie hit. Very, very well instrumented and composed. It's very, very, very good. And I think that's all I have to say.
I will give you £5 Great British pounds if you can tell me what language Guja is sang in.
Is it a Nordic language?
I'm not giving you anything.
Ah, come on.
If you want £5, you need to guess.
Okay. I am going to guess that it is Norwegian.
It is Albanian.
God damn it. I thought it was a Nordic language because it felt like very woody. I don't know what that actually means. It's just the way that it came out. I should have really thought about Eastern Europe because I just said it sounded like The Witcher and that's from fucking Poland. I'm an idiot. Okay, I don't win a fiver.
Now, the question is, do you think there are any tracks on this album that you disliked?
I'm going to say enjoy less. Or perhaps don't
vibe with.
Yeah. Because I'd want to point out, much like we did last week with the Black Parade, I don't think there's really anything here that's like really abhorrently objectionable. Something that is poorly put together. I just think that there are decisions that mean it is not for me. And that's what we've got here. I do want to say, on first listen, I really didn't like this album. I sent you a message with the crusty gif of just, what the hell was that? And I think it's because I hadn't really given it full chance to sink in at that time.
And that's why we try to aim for an average of 7 listens per album, just to make sure that we have a great view of everything without any prejudice. Just sit down and listen to the album.
It helps. It really helps. So, like, I thought when I heard Burn Alive the first time, I really fucking hated it, but now I actually kind of think it's a decent opener. So I quite like that. But I've already spoken about Beautiful Boy. But My Lady of Mercy, if I had to put something at the bottom, it would be that. I think half of the song is a really kind of pleasant late 60s, early 70s rock and roll, like psychedelia pre-Sabbath kind of thing. And it works quite nicely as this reframing of faith and lust. And you can absolutely see where the songwriting was coming for that. But the choral vocals in the chorus just give me the ick. And I need you to know that I really love Ghost, the band Ghost.
I thought you meant the film with Patrick Swayze.
I mean, that's not too bad either. And the musical of the movie from Patrick, yeah. No, Ghost, the band, he's quite, macabrely, like that dark reflection of religion. He plays on those themes of Satanism and all that. And I like it there. There's plenty of songs in those first 3 albums by Ghost which are very, very much leaning into that organ-heavy kind of, you are at a dark church kind of thing. And I think that's what they tried to do here with those vocals. And the problem is I just really don't like it. I find it really grating. That the discordant kind of just doesn't. I'm going, yes, I'm really appreciating all the shit decisions they're making here, but I just want to go and listen to something I really like rather than this. And it makes me crawl a little bit. The skin just kind of ripples when I hear those vocal styles.
It's a little bit reminiscent of like songs of praise and like
I mean,
church choirs
in the bland. Yeah, but again, it's a stylistic choice, right? It's very much a choice they've made, and I respect it, and I think they pulled it off. But I don't want to hear it. That's the problem.
Yep. Sometimes you just want to have an easy listen, and this album is heavy. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to sit here and like be smiling from ear to ear after a listen. It is fucking heavy. It is deep. It is a lot to take in. If you're just trying to admire the music, you're going to be fine. But there are some times when you have to sit there and go, damn, that's heavy. And then you've got someone wailing.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had that before.
It's like, this is a lot.
I think that's what's happening here for me.
And yeah, I completely agree. And then I will caveat that with, I feel the exact same way about one of the tracks you've actually mentioned.
Oh, right.
Which is Guja.
Oh, really?
I can understand that it's spoken in Albanian or sung in Albanian. I can understand it's supposed to be a ethereal, mysterious texture that showcases the cultural depth. Oh, oh, it hurt my head.
This boy, he does not fuck with Eurovision or The Witcher.
I'm not a big fan of over-the-top high vocals that are just...
And it's not a long track, so this wound you up real quick.
I was sat... on the way to the recording, I try and listen to one of the albums in full again, the one that I've struggled with the most. And I was just sat there in traffic, and I had to turn the radio down, or I had to turn my car stereo down because it was giving me a headache.
Jesus Christ. It really does come to something. I think you can levy those complaints against a lot of tracks on this. I think On Your Side, I think it's got that kind of almost Arctic Monkeys level of playful storytelling, but again, undone by this overly pomp vocal style. I think that really is, it's very Marmite, right?
I can see past the vocal style for the majority of tracks on this album, but there was just something about... I know it's only an interlude as well.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't really be looked at in the same light as some of the full tracks.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
But yeah, the same way you feel about the vocal style on quite a few of the tracks, I can understand and I can see. And I can fully admire the fact that they've gone for something in their own stylistic choice. They've gone for something so different to the rest of the market. They've gone for some incredible influences, and they've made an album that absolutely slaps. But Jesus Christ, you feel like shit after listening.
It's a gut punch of a thing, isn't it?
Especially as a bloke.
Oh, like, yeah.
If you sit there as a guy and you listen through, you leave feeling like, fuck me, what have I done to all the women in my life? I should really call her. There's no one in particular I need to call, but it feels like I should.
Someone, yeah.
I just need to call someone, not my mom, because that'd be weird. I just need to call someone and apologise for being a guy.
I mean, it feels like mission accomplished on that front, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. You very much get the sense that these are some very educated women. I think that's actually something I'd like to draw attention to.
Yeah, they were all private schooled.
Yeah. And there's part of me.
They still played Glastonbury. And was it Coachella as well?
Yeah. Privately educated people from a Russell Group university. And I know from personal goddamn experience what it's like to be on the receiving end of a class war in a Russell Group university. I went to one. I was basically, if you're a working class kid at a Russell Group university, you're as good as a diversity hire. And not that I want this to be a reflection of the music, which I think is accomplished, if not entirely for me. I do struggle with artists that have shot to instant success, coming from a privately educated background with all those degrees of privilege that they have experienced in their lives. And I think then to release an album that goes, and here's all the ways that we've been disenfranchised, I'm not going to say it's not earned. I think as a woman, you will continue to have
roadblocks thrown your way.
Yeah, totally. You're going to be at the mercy of prejudice no matter what you do. Completely valid thing to explore. at age 26.
It's a little bit early to be that deep.
Which I think that they've made a conscious effort to temper by going, well, actually, it's not just what we've experienced, it's the generational impact, which is fair enough. But again, once we're getting down to brass tacks, these are still people who, are lucky enough to come from such a privileged background and have such wonderful training at prestigious music colleges. And, I just feel a little bit spoken down to. And that might be the point. And I might be missing the point. And I am happy to raise my hands and say that I have missed the point. And I'm actually also happy to raise my hands and go, this wasn't made for me. And I'm happy that things aren't being made for me, because that's how you get interesting things. And that's how I can then also have my mind expanded. There's, you know what I mean? It's just, it feels like an unavoidable element of this that privileged school, immediate #1 album. I see a pattern.
Whether that pattern's there or not, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
The main brass tacks, the big question, the one thing that you need to answer here and now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this album is unskippable?
No, I don't. I don't think it's unskippable. And I don't say that with any malice. I don't say that with an idea to punish this because of the messages that it wants to say. I think we need albums like this to be made. But I do not think that this band has made an unskippable album on its first go. I think that to do that is very, very difficult. It takes generational talent to do that. I think you can still be wonderfully accomplished musicians, have fantastic storied careers, and still not get it 100% right the first time. And you should be very grateful that you've got it this right as it is, that we can heap on this praise, that we can sit here and pick apart the messages that you've created, because they are definitely worth hearing. This is not a perfect package. I will tell you for why. I just think, the vocals for me, it's just a general ick for me. The vocal style. I don't think I'm personally going to get over that. And if I am going to get over that, it's not going to be today. But there are at least 2 or 3 tracks on this. Portrait of a Dead Girl, Mirror, and On Your Side. Realistically, I didn't even write that many notes for. And Mirror especially, I just wrote the word snooze fest. I was just bored by that point. And you can't have an unskippable album where I'm just totally disengaged from what you're creating. Solid attempt, but sadly not unskippable.
I came into this room with an idea of, without an idea of whether I'd be skipping this album or not. And during our discussion, I've come to realise that originally I was going to put this down as unskippable.
Okay.
Because in the usual logic I apply, I could sit down and just have it on in the background. However, on my last listen, I sat down and scrutinised it really hard while stuck in traffic. And there were at least 2 or 3 songs where I was so very tempted and then put over the top by that intermission track where I actually did skip.
But there you go.
And to me, that says it all. I actually went through the effort of skipping the track. I didn't use my hands. I used my hands free. I told my AI assistant to skip the track for me so I didn't break any laws. But to me, that shows that this album can't be truly unskippable, because even on some of the other albums that we've reviewed where they've had intermission tracks, we've sat there and enjoyed the intermissions, and I couldn't get past that. And similarly, some of the themes that you've talked about, it's just a bit heavy. And realistically, for the albums that we've added to the unskippable category, you should be able to listen to them at any time and any place. And yeah, I feel like if you're in a really dark place and you listen to this album, it won't be beneficial to your mental health.
No, it won't be.
You need to be in a good frame of mind to be able to appreciate this album. And if you take the singles as their own individual things, you're fine. Those messages aren't conveyed as heavily.
Yeah.
But if you sit and listen to the album as a whole, it's a much different experience.
Yeah.
And that's what this podcast is all about.
Oh, totally.
Seeing the differences between album releases and the album and the tracks, individually. You need to be able to break them apart from one another and really like look down into them.
I really am happy that this kind of thing is being made, but I just think it needs a little bit more perfecting before we can say truly unskippable. And hopefully they actually have another album coming out this year. I haven't timed it right at all because the album released a couple of weeks ago at the time of recording. But it's at least released in the same calendar year. I guess that'll guess. Maybe their newest release is an improvement. I haven't heard it. I'd be willing to give it a try, but that's down to you at home to write in. As I said, you can go to the link tree. You can email us at skippod@gmail.com. That's skipodpod@gmail.com. If you want to hear us talk about the follow-up record, and we'd be happy to do that. Anything else we want to say? Have we got a track of the week?
I think it's your turn to come up with a track of the week.
Oh, good golly gosh, I wasn't prepared. Let's take a look at the stuff that I've been listening to outside of this show, which, to be honest with you, these days is not a fat lot else. Let's have a look.
And while Mike looks for that, we are actually going to host a couple of special shows in the coming weeks on the lead up to Christmas. We are actually going to have a Christmas special and a New Year's special, which are slight deviations from our usual sort of releases. So I hope you look forward to those, and it's going to be something a little bit different to end the year before we start up fresh again in January with another set of albums.
That is absolutely correct. Now, my track of the week is going to come with some goddamn caveats. Because...
What are you going to say, caviar then? I was getting excited.
No, it's going to come with some caveats, because I need to get this off my chest in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, you're going into Biffy, aren't you?
Very, very quickly.
That's fine.
Very quickly.
Okay, so a bit of background for anybody that doesn't know Mike on a personal level. The first time I ever met him, he was sat on a train bridge wearing a Biffy Clyro hoodie when he was 14, and he has had a huge love for Biffy for pretty much his entire existence.
You're damn right. They released a new album this year called Foutique, which is a portmanteau of future and antique. It's meant to be about the idea of encapsulating time and seeing the past and the present, or whatever. Wow. All I got to say is it's the worst album they've ever made. But there are exactly 2.5 songs that I enjoyed on the album. One of those two is the track Woe Is Me, Where Is You? Awful title, but genuinely quite a fun track. Would probably be a real litmus test to whether or not you'd like some of the older stuff that Biffy have done. Not quite as heavy, but it's a bit more challenging. It's kind of more reminiscent of what they were doing around 2013 rather than, their early 2000s records, which are some of my favourite ever made. It's pretty fun. I quite like it. A more traditional one would be True Believer, and I nearly picked that, but you've got to progress as an artist. Biffy have chosen to progress into boring-ass stadium rock, and I don't like that. But occasionally they'll do something like Woe Is Me, Where Is You, where they're doing something a little bit off the beaten track.
Have they transitioned into the Scottish Foo Fighters?
I think they have, and that is a problem. This, like when Foo Fighters were interesting and they did like fun upbeat shit, like Biffy were doing like fun, kind of weird and wacky, but also very like heavy and emotional stuff, and they'd put this together, and their albums used to be very complex,
like pre For Your Honor Foo Fighters,
basically. And now what they're doing is basically just wheels. Every song is wheels.
Not ideal.
It's not good. This is like one of the outliers of this album. It's not a good album. I don't implore you to listen to that album, but listen to that track because it's a little different. Have something a little different. There you go.
And I know, slight turnaround. Didn't that album chart ridiculously well?
What, Foutique?
Yeah.
Christ, I fucking hope not.
I think it charted quite well from what I've saw.
It wouldn't shock me if it went to number one because they've had albums go to number one previously, but I don't think the last two did. And the last two were way better than this one. Like Celebration of Endings is far better than it has any right of being. And the fan base really love The Myth of the Happily Ever After. Like, the fans love that one. And I think it's fine. But, like, Foutique is like, it's probably worse than Ellipses, and that is categorically considered their worst release.
So I'm about to ruin Mike's day, and you're going to watch hear his heart break live and direct.
Go on.
In this podcast. I'm about to show Mike a headline from a page called officialcharts.com
Okay.
where I'm about to tell him that they actually did secure their 4th number 1 with this album.
Oh, God. Okay. Oh. That doesn't make me feel good. We're celebrating mediocrity again. Just, man.
According to this article, they struck the right chord once again, securing their 4th number 1.
Would you like to hear them do Mountains over 12 tracks? That's basically what the record is, except Mountains was a bit more upbeat.
Oh, and they came out with possibly the corniest acceptance I've ever heard.
Go on.
4 official UK number 1 albums, a teak moment in real time.
God, guys.
That made my skin crawl saying it.
Branding. We do branding here. Oh, God. Biffy are such a shadow of what they used to be. I really hope this doesn't mark what the direction is going forward. I want them to go back to doing weird and interesting stuff. Not too weird. Not the film Balance Not Symmetry, because the album Balance Not Symmetry was great, but the film sucks dick. I just want them to do heavier stuff again. I know that's selfish. Go back and do the things that I like. This is my Biffy Clyro album. But yeah, the album sucks. That song, Woe Is Me, Where Was You, is worth listening to though. So go and do that if you want to. All of that to say, thank you very much for listening to this episode of Skipped. We will see you next Wednesday with another one of your album suggestions. Bye, everybody. Bye.